I thought my biggest worry about my digital past would be embarrassing photos from college. I never imagined that a single comment I made when I was 16 would cost me my dream career 12 years later. My name is Ryan, and this is the story of how the internet's perfect memory destroyed my future in ways I never saw coming. The nightmare began on a Tuesday morning in March 2024. I was 28, living in Seattle, and had just completed the final interview for a senior software engineering position at Cascade Technologies, one of the most innovative tech companies in the Pacific Northwest. The role was everything I'd worked toward for a decade, leading a team developing AI-powered healthcare solutions, six-figure salary, equity package, and the chance to work on technology that could genuinely save lives. The interview process had gone perfectly. 3 months of technical challenges, cultural fit assessments, and presentations to senior leadership. The hiring manager, Sarah Chen, had practically offered me the position during our final conversation, saying I was exactly the kind of forward-thinking engineer we need to drive our mission. I was already mentally planning my resignation from my current job when the email arrived at 2:47 p.m. Dear Ryan, after careful consideration and completion of our standard background verification process, we have decided not to move forward with your application for the senior software engineer position. While your technical qualifications are excellent, we discovered inconsistencies with our company values during our review of your digital presence. We wish you the best in your future endeavors. Sincerely, Cascade Technologies HR Department. I read that email 17 times, each iteration making less sense than the last. Inconsistencies with company values? What could they possibly have found? I'd been carefully managing my online presence since college. My LinkedIn was professional and polished. My GitHub contributions showed consistent, high-quality code. My Twitter account was bland but appropriate, mostly retweets of tech news and the occasional comment about programming languages. I'd even gone through Facebook years ago and deleted anything that might be considered unprofessional. Or so I thought. I spent that evening conducting a comprehensive audit of my digital footprint, searching every variation of my name across every platform I could remember using. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, GitHub, Reddit, various programming forums, gaming platforms, comment sections of tech blogs, anywhere I might have left a trace over the past 15 years of internet use. The investigation became an archaeological dig through my own digital history. I found my MySpace profile from high school, complete with angsty song lyrics and photos of me with scene hair that made me cringe. I discovered old forum posts from World of Warcraft where I'd engaged in heated debates about game mechanics using language I'd never use today. But nothing seemed career-ending. Embarrassing, perhaps, but hardly inconsistent with the values of a progressive tech company. The breakthrough came when I expanded my search beyond platforms I remembered actively using. I started searching for my name in conjunction with keywords from my teenage years, my high school, my hometown of Spokane, my old gaming handles, even the name of the local comic book store where I'd spent countless hours. That's when I found it, buried in the archives of a gaming forum that had been defunct for 8 years. A thread from 2012 titled, Most Overpowered Game Characters Ever. User RYKenyan94, my old gaming handle combining my name and birth year, had posted, honestly, the most op character is whoever designed that annoying wheelchair kid in the new RPG. Like, we get it, you're disabled, but does every cutscene have to be about your struggle? Just give me the quest and let me fight dragons. This social justice warrior stuff is ruining gaming. I stared at that comment for 20 minutes, my stomach sinking deeper with each reread. The context was a discussion about video game characters, and 16-year-old me had made a thoughtless, insensitive comment about representation in gaming. It was stupid, immature, and reflected the kind of casual ableism that was unfortunately common in certain gaming communities 12 years ago. But to someone reading it today, especially an HR department at a company focused on healthcare accessibility. It would look like evidence of discriminatory attitudes toward disabled individuals. The comment had 3 likes and 7 replies, most of which were equally immature responses from other teenagers. The thread had 847 total views over its lifetime before the forum shut down. It should have disappeared into the digital void years ago. Except it hadn't. I discovered that the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine had crawled that forum multiple times, preserving snapshots of threads including the one containing my comment. More disturbingly, I found evidence that data aggregation companies had scraped content from the forum before it closed, incorporating user comments into comprehensive personality profiles that could be purchased by employers, landlords, or anyone willing to pay for background information. A company called Datamine Solutions offered comprehensive digital background reports that promised to reveal the true character of job candidates through their complete online history. Their marketing materials boasted about AI algorithms that could analyze thousands of posts, comments, and interactions to create psychological profiles and flag potential risk factors. I ordered a report on myself, using a fake company name and paying the $89 fee through a prepaid card. The 23-page document that arrived 3 days later was terrifying in its thoroughness. The report included not just my controversial gaming comment, but also a Reddit post from 2015 where I complained about my college's mandatory diversity training, waste of time that could be spent on actual computer science. A Facebook comment from 2018 where I'd shared a satirical article about workplace sensitivity training, and even a Yelp review where I'd criticized a restaurant for having too much focus on the social mission instead of just making good food. None of these individual items were particularly damning, but the AI analysis had identified a pattern. The report concluded, subject demonstrates consistent resistance to diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives across multiple platforms and timeframes. Risk assessment, high for companies prioritizing inclusive workplace culture. The algorithm had essentially automated character assassination, using my own words to paint a picture of someone fundamentally incompatible with modern corporate values. The nuance of context, the evolution of personal growth over time, the difference between thoughtless teenage comments and genuine prejudice, none of that mattered to the AI system designed to flag potential problems. I called Cascade Technologies, hoping to explain the situation directly to Sarah Chen. Her assistant informed me that she was no longer available to discuss my application, and that all hiring decisions are final. When I pressed for more information about what specific concerns had led to my rejection, I was transferred to HR, where a different representative simply repeated that they'd found inconsistencies with company values, and could not provide additional details. The frustration was maddening. I couldn't defend myself against accusations I didn't fully understand, based on evidence I couldn't access, analyzed by algorithms whose decision-making process was completely opaque. I hired a digital reputation management company, Repair My Presence, spending $3,200 I couldn't afford on services that promised to cleanse and optimize your online identity. Their approach involved creating positive content to push negative results further down in search rankings, attempting to contact platforms about removing old content, and submitting requests to data aggregation companies to correct or delete information. The results were mixed at best. Some platforms cooperated with deletion requests, but others required legal threats or simply ignored communications entirely. The Internet Archive refused to remove content, citing their mission to preserve digital history. Data aggregation companies like Datamine Solutions had Byzantine processes for challenging their reports, requiring documentation that was often impossible to obtain for decade-old forum posts. Most frustratingly, I discovered that attempting to remove content sometimes made the situation worse. My efforts to contact forum administrators and platform moderators about deleting old posts created new digital footprints, email exchanges, support tickets, and account activity that could be interpreted as evidence that I was trying to hide something problematic. The Streisand effect was working in reverse. Trying to make my past disappear was generating new evidence of suspicious behavior. The impact on my career became increasingly severe. I applied for 12 other positions over the following 6 months, making it to final rounds for several before receiving sudden rejections with vague explanations about cultural fit or background verification issues. It became clear that my digital reputation was preceding me, poisoning opportunities before I could even present my case. The psychological toll was devastating. Every day brought the anxiety of wondering what other forgotten digital artifacts might surface to destroy future opportunities. I found myself second-guessing every social media post, every comment, every online interaction, paralyzed by the knowledge that today's casual statement might become tomorrow's career liability. The situation affected my personal relationships in unexpected ways. Friends began distancing themselves when they learned about my employment troubles, worried that association with me might damage their own professional prospects. My girlfriend Jessica broke up with me in August, citing the stress and uncertainty surrounding my reputation issues. "I care about you," she said during our final conversation, "but I can't build a future with someone whose past might randomly explode and destroy everything we're working toward." What happens when I apply for jobs and they see we're connected on social media? The most insidious aspect was how the situation made me doubt my own character. Reading those old comments and posts, even in context, forced me to confront the person I'd been at different stages of my life. Had I actually held problematic views? Was I unconsciously biased in ways I'd never examined? Or was I being judged by impossible standards that criminalized the normal process of intellectual and moral development? I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Amanda Rodriguez, who specialized in digital age anxiety and reputation management trauma, apparently a growing field as more people faced similar situations. She helped me understand that I was experiencing a form of temporal identity collapse, where past and present versions of myself were being artificially flattened into a single, unchanging character assessment. Personal growth requires making mistakes and learning from them, Dr. Rodriguez explained. But digital permanence prevents society from acknowledging that people can change. You're being held accountable not just for your actions, but for your inability to predict how those actions would be interpreted by future standards you couldn't have known existed. The breakthrough in my case came through an unexpected source. A journalist named Marcus Webb was investigating predatory practices in the background check industry, and he'd heard about my situation through my digital reputation management company. Marcus had been tracking how AI-powered analysis of old social media content was creating a new form of digital discrimination, disproportionately affecting people who'd grown up online and minorities whose cultural communication styles were misinterpreted by algorithms. His investigation revealed that Datamine Solutions and similar companies were using biased training data that flagged certain types of language and topics as problematic without considering context, cultural background, or temporal factors. Comments that would be considered normal discourse in certain communities were being classified as risk indicators by AI systems trained primarily on corporate communication standards. Marcus's article, published in Wired magazine 6 months after my initial rejection, exposed the systematic bias in algorithmic background checking and its impact on employment opportunities. The piece featured my case alongside several others, including a black woman whose posts about racial justice were flagged as aggressive and divisive, and a military veteran whose discussions about combat experience were classified as indicators of potential violence. The article generated significant backlash against companies using these services, with several major tech firms announcing they would discontinue algorithmic background checks in favor of more nuanced, human-centered evaluation processes. Cascade Technologies reached out to me 2 weeks after the article was published. Sarah Chen personally called to apologize for the company's overly automated and insufficiently contextualized background verification process. She offered me the position I'd originally been denied, with an additional $15,000 salary increase as compensation for the delays and stress I'd experienced. I accepted the job, but the experience had fundamentally changed my relationship with digital communication and online presence. I now approach every post, comment, and interaction with the assumption that it will be preserved, analyzed, and potentially weaponized against me decades in the future. The victory felt hollow because I knew my case was exceptional. Most people facing similar digital discrimination don't have journalists investigating their situations or the resources to fight back against algorithmic bias. They simply disappear from consideration for opportunities, never knowing why their applications are rejected or what invisible digital scarlet letters are marking them as unemployable. I've since become an advocate for digital privacy rights and algorithmic transparency in employment practices. I speak at conferences about the need for statute of limitations on digital content, the importance of considering context and growth in background evaluations, and the dangers of outsourcing human judgment to AI systems that can't understand nuance, development, or redemption. The most important lesson from my experience is that our digital past is never truly past. Every comment, post, like, and interaction contributes to a permanent record that can be retrieved, analyzed, and used to judge us by standards that don't yet exist. We're all creating evidence against our future selves without realizing it. My advice for protecting your digital future: regular audits of your online presence, search for yourself quarterly, and understand what's publicly visible. Context documentation when making controversial or potentially misunderstood statements, include clear context about your reasoning and intent. Privacy settings mastery, understand that private settings can change and data can be leaked or scraped regardless of platform policies. Professional social media separation, maintain distinct personal and professional online identities when possible. Most critically, we need to demand better regulation of background check companies, transparency in algorithmic decision-making, and legal protections against digital discrimination based on outdated or miscontextualized information. The Internet promised to democratize information and opportunity, but it's also created a surveillance apparatus that can destroy lives based on the arbitrary interpretation of our worst moments. We're all living in glass houses now, and the stones being thrown are our own past words, analyzed by machines that don't understand human complexity. What would you do if a thoughtless comment from your teenage years cost you your dream job? How much of your authentic self are you willing to sacrifice to maintain a perfect digital reputation? Because in a world where algorithms judge our character based on decades-old data, we're all one Google search away from having our futures erased by our past.